Part 3, the limo project. I've made quite a bit of progress. If you saw the last two videos, you'll see that I'm trying to solve the problem of getting this to have more travel, more usable travel, a more comfortable ride. I have achieved the travel and the ride is comfortable, but only because these shocks are just wildly too soft. But everything else seems to be pretty solid. Let me back up so you can kind of see the profile. We've got about a 1-inch difference from the front to rear. We're just under 12 inches on the front of the frame. And then towards the rear, we're looking at right at 13 inches. The links, if you looked in the second video, I believe, I explained all the parts. I actually got 4-foot sections. 2 4-foot sections and 2 2-foot sections. Well, in the end, I wound up cutting the 4-foot sections below 2 feet. So rather than do the 2-foot and 4-foot, you can actually just do all 4 with 2-foot lengths, 24 inches. So this is a steel support across there. At first, I just did the H, and then I wound up adding that piece there. I should have used angle. And they are on level, essentially, both the center and the outside. The lower arms are at about 12 degrees, and the upper arms are at 2 degrees downward. These shocks are off of a TRX 450 FW, like the Foreman, I think, and I just got them on eBay for cheap for $45. It's a common dimension and length, which I cannot recall right now, somewhere around 13 inches, and they are too soft. I've got this temporary setup, as you can see. This will get cut and adjusted as needed. But it gave me a bit to play around with, and at least I have a rolling chassis now because I'm about to go, out of state. So the cool thing is with this setup, I have some room for wider shocks if that's the case, but because of these being adjustable, as I adjust the upper and the lower, I can actually tilt the motor forward and to the rear. So I'm sure there's a threshold for going too far forward, but you can imagine there's kind of a sweet spot. Now, as I do that, I'll also adjust the axle in this dimension as well. So this is all just temporary because I don't have a great solution. So it's kind of stacking up here, just pushing upward. I'm not riding this very rigorously right now. So then at some point, I've got to find a way to where I'm probably going to connect both of these sides, maybe have a special piece going a bit more forward. And then figure out the actual weight, spring rate. Again, all this is temporary, but it is functioning. It's, it's got a lot of travel. It's doing all the things I want it to do. And these are 20-inch tires, 10-inch wheels, and you can see it's like basically just right level basically with the frame. So I would guess that this is something around the 4-inch mark as far as like what a lift kit would be. Over here, I've got a Car Precedent with a 3-inch lift kit, and these are like what, 18-inch tires in comparison, I think. I'm not actually sure. Maybe it's not quite that, but and you see how they are. The tops of the tires are kind of level with the frame. Same size wheels. Maybe those are 20-inch too. I'm actually not sure. I do have a front. This is a 3-inch front with a 3-inch All Sports front end, and it has one leaf spring removed, and then I've got some cheap coilovers jammed up there. So it's like putting some of the weight up top, some on the bottom. I don't know that I love it, but it was just super soft before the factory setup. So I'm still tinkering with that. I don't really have much advice. But so there she is. You can see in this footage here, guy's 220 pounds or so. He's hopping up and down. and there's plenty of articulation, but it's way too soft, right? Because once I put all this, all the parts back on the rear, another 100 pounds or so, it's gonna sink a bit, which is fine, right? That'll probably get us closer to level, but I'm gonna need heavier shocks that ideally are like the variable spring rate. I forget what that's called, but dual spring rate, something like that. And perhaps some air shocks might be the answer. Really don't know, so would love some feedback and some advice for those who have done this. I do also see the possibility of doing a sway bar link in the future to tighten up, because I would imagine even if I get tighter, even if I get heavier shocks, once I get 4 passengers, 2 on the back seat and then 2 in the rear, I mean, gosh, that's potentially 800 pounds. I'm gonna have to have something, and I could see it having way too much body roll. But anyhow, we've achieved a lot of things so far. I'm very happy with the multi-link and how that's turned out. I used one of the factory holes here, and then I drilled a second factory hole, and that was done with by removing these original pieces, which really I saw didn't serve much of a purpose in their current state. So that hole right there was repurposed. A second was added, and it seems to be holding up, but of course right now I'm driving it pretty gently because I don't have everything fully in place. Don't even have the links locked in. But all right, so this is number 3. Hopefully I'll get some more information for video 4.